Um, I'll take care of that later. So, for those who missed my live stream yesterday, I was taking shots at my own generation for once. So I know I'm always defending Generation X, but they got a lot of bullshit with them too. And I called it out. At least one thing. I called out how a lot of them are extremely unfit physically, yet still are shocked at why their bodies don't perform optimally anymore. And I said, well, yeah, you use it or lose it. So you can't revel in how physically active you were 30 years ago as a teenager and mock current teenagers for their lack of physical prowess when you no longer have those abilities yourself, regardless of how much you did 30 years ago. That's you're talking an entire like an entire lifetime ago. So I got into that last in my last stream, and if people want to bring that back up, that's fine. I think going forward, I will have it that you can bring up the topic from the past stream, and we can still chat about it because I think that's fair, especially if it wasn't a long stream. Sometimes my streams can go 3 hours or so, but if it was a short one and people still want to chat about that stream because they watched it or they just heard me mention it at the beginning of this one, um, we can talk about it. But today is going to be a different topic altogether. Um, the topic being, um, for those not achieving what they want to achieve here in America or getting to where they want to be or just having different reasons for a lot of dissatisfaction in their life, is reverse migration an option? And let's be clear, reverse migration is an option for everyone because this assumes that you have a homeland, a motherland outside of the United States. A lot of people do because a lot of Americans came here as migrants at one point in time. And so their parents or even their grandparents may be from their mother country. So they have options. A lot of Americans don't, particularly black Americans. For all the jokes about go back to Africa and all those sorts of jokes that's been around for like the last 200 years, uh, the point of the matter is that black Americans, this is their home country, this is their motherland, this is their home country. We can't identify with any particular country back in Africa. What's up, Robin? Um, and I'm talking particularly about foundational black Americans, so I'm not talking about the others, people of Caribbean or African descent. Um, Mikkel Karan Gauthier says, hi, what's up, Mikkel? Um, so, yeah, reverse migration can be an option for some folks. B says, black is supreme. But like I said, reverse migration isn't going to help a lot of white or black Americans because for most of us, we've been here for centuries. So this is the homeland. For some white people, they can still trace their ancestry to mother countries, whether you know Ireland, Scotland, Germany, places like that, parts of southern or eastern Europe, maybe more recent waves of immigrants, but a lot of us can't. A lot of Asians can definitely trace their ancestry back to the motherland because many of them haven't been here more than 3 or 4 generations. Unless you're talking about like folks in like Hawaii and California who may have been here for like 5, 6 generations, maybe more. But They have options, and Latinos, a lot of them, um, depends where where what type of Latino they are. Uh, some of them have been in America since its founding, but others have been part of recent waves of emigres. And the fact of the matter was, a lot of Mexicans actually have been migrating back to Mexico as opposed to Mexicans coming here to the U.S. That's a stat that might surprise people, but yeah, there's been more going back to Mexico than coming to the United States. Uh, but for folks who aren't recent migrants, the other option is expatriation, becoming an expat. This is part of what the passport bros have been doing, becoming expats. At least some of them. Some of them just travel and then they come back to America. And yeah, I'll say those are passport bros too. But the kind that uh, I relate to more are the expats, the people who actually spend most of their time actually living abroad. So something I will be doing as well. I have a lot of personal dissatisfactions with the country right now, and a lot of personal setbacks. And I would be more comfortable living abroad. So, but the question still comes up. Like I said, whether reverse migration or expatriation is a good option for folks. Is it even viable for most people? I bring this up because I was watching a recent um, video by the Fung Brothers. If people haven't seen their channel, you should check it out. I watch this stuff pretty faithfully, although like I'm not Asian and I'm definitely not Chinese, which they are. So they tend to broach most topics from the viewpoint of Asian men, but they make it entertaining and they're pretty fair. I don't agree with them on everything, but they tend to be pretty fair about things. And like I said, they've been entertaining. I've been watching them for like several years on YouTube. When I first saw their content, I think they used to like do a lot of stuff when they lived in California, like visiting different college campuses and interviewing people. But they brought up the option that this was specifically for Koreans, but they were opening it up to all Asians, right? Which is a lot of Koreans were moving back to South Korea, either because they were the parents and they wanted to go back to their home country now that they've made it here and they can live comfortably back home, or younger people, particularly men, South Korean men who want to go there because they can live in a country that's more patriarchal than America. So, despite what feminists here in America will have you believe, America is not a patriarchal society. But yeah, they want to go back to a country where it's more patriarchal, where their income will go farther, and a place that's starting to peak culturally. Um, they've is South Korea is very Americanized, and an American who spoke Korean could probably live pretty comfortably there. Like I said, they have entertainment over there. Excuse me. They have entertainment over there that rivals stuff here, like um, the Korean Hollywood. I don't know what their word for the Korean Hollywood is over there, but their entertainment, their movie industry is pretty lit. They have their music scene with K-pop again on point. Um, a lot of people enjoy might enjoy the food and culture there as well. well, some people like the culture can be hit or miss for a lot of different reasons. But so like a lot of both older Korean people and young Korean men are back doing a reverse migration back there. Some of them do find themselves being treated sort of as foreigners there because they haven't lived in the country for so long, or they never grew up there because they are the children of migrants. Um, but either way, it's a good option to have. It is definitely a good option to have. Unfortunately, like I said, it's not something Black Americans can really take advantage of. Like I said, for all the jokes about go back to Africa and this and that, we really don't have any particular place in Africa to call home because we were all people who were trafficked out of that country from many different parts of Western and Central Africa. And the people who took part in that still live there and formed kingdoms and later republics from the wealth of selling off their brethren. So, and if they really like, if they really, so there are these little Pan Africanists like Umar, Dr. Umar, and all these other little clowns that say, we should go move back to Africa and all this sort of stuff. Even if it was an option, I wouldn't. Like, there's no infrastructure set up for returning Black people, like for Black Americans returning, going to Africa to succeed unless they are like already well to do and creating their own like systems of wealth there. Like of and most countries don't even have anything in place other than like Ghana and maybe one or two other countries, but Ghana's the only one that immediately pops up in my mind where they've like set up like some financial infrastructure for Black Americans to come there and actually live, live there. But being that 48 out of the 50 states, excuse me, uh, 48 out of the 50 countries that is in Africa. Got some hay fever, guys, so excuse me. I think that means I need to go out and do another run. So I've had like a allergy headache all day, which buy me a coffee, that'll help. Buy me a coffee. Give me a coffee through buymeacoffee.com. My link for it is in the description to buy me a coffee. I will buy coffee and drink coffee, and I will drink it online. I'm on live here, so you can see that I'm actually drinking coffee and not just hustling you into telling you to buy me a coffee. I really will. But back to what I was saying. So Ghana's like the only place I know that set something up for Black Americans to actually have some means of success there. Most of those countries there don't. And like I said, there's a whole African Union there set up, of which I think 48 of the 50 countries are a part of, because you can actually get an African Union passport for some of the people there. Uh, if they really wanted Black Americans to return to stimulate the economy in many of these downtrodden countries in Africa, then they would have instituted something like Israel did for Jewish people. They would have had some sort of law of return where anywhere within the African Union you could come back and receive dual citizenship as well as certain benefits for um, home ownership and becoming an entrepreneur. None of these countries have anything set up like that outside of Ghana. So for most Black people, it's not a reality of any sort of reverse migration. Because, like I said, we're not reverse migrating because we aren't migrants. most of us have lived here at least 200 plus years, if not from the very beginning in 1619 when they first brought over black people here. So, foundational black Americans, there's no reverse migration. Typically, if we go anywhere, even if it's to Africa, we're expatriating. Some of us can think that we're migrating back to the motherland, but America is very, very much so our motherland, regardless of whether we see it or not as being such. But yeah, you can expatriate to Africa, whether to Ghana or Nigeria or Liberia, um, and some of these other places that might be more friendly, like Kenya or Uganda. Obviously, there's some places you don't want to go right now, like Cameroon and the Sudan, the southern Sudan. In any country in an African continent, there's always a risk that there's going to be some sort of coup d'état at any point. So, who I don't know. Do people really want to wish that? Do you want to live under a country where some Idi Amin might take control of the country at any point? Um, so that's 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 my discussion topic, guys. If if no one's rocking with it, that's cool. I'll just end it, and we'll start another topic another day, as per usual. But usually people will tend to come in and chime in. As far as white Americans, again, it's a mixed bag. Some people have been here since the beginning, just like black people have been here since the beginning. Others have come here in different waves of immigration from Europe, whether it was in the 1800s or in the later on in the 1900s, particularly people coming from southern and eastern Europe. Um, some of them may still have family connections back overseas and might want to exercise the options of going back to their motherland, even though they would be going back as foreigners, presumably. So, I mean, that is an option. But, I mean, like, I would think like after 3 generations, you're going back as a if you go you're not reverse migrating after 3 generations. After 3 generations, you're expatriating. Like it, it would be just hard to say that that's a reverse migration after you're like 3 or 4 generations in to this country. And like I said, for us being here for like what 10 generations or whatever, like this is definitely expatriation. Like I am going to expatriate, but not to the African continent. You couldn't pay me to go there right now. And yes, I know there's 50, maybe 51 countries right now, and some of them are faring better than others. Definitely so. Some of them are nice places to live with very modernized cities that rival New York, not as far as the the capital that they generate or the GDP, but as far as like having you know a really good uh, infrastructure. So yeah, there's some African countries with cities with very modernized cities that were rivals, say like New York or Houston or DC or LA. but I just wouldn't want to live there. I'm sorry, I wouldn't. That goes, and to be fair, that goes for Latin America too. I wouldn't want to move to. There's really not too many places in Latin America I would want to live. Visit, yes, absolutely. Like there's countries all over Africa and Latin America I would visit, but as far as live, I really can't think of a single country in either region that I would want to live. Let me think about it. Latin America, Brazil, not really. mm, yeah, I couldn't think of a country in either place that I would want to in South America, Africa, Caribbean, Central America. I would want to live. Definitely visit, maybe even extended stay. Live, no. It would be basically Europe or Asia for me. Europe, Asia, maybe some of those oceanic countries like New Zealand or Australia. So, but Asia would be number one, Europe be number two, Oceania. Am I saying it right? Oceania or Oceania? I'm not sure how you actually pronounce that. But basically, Australia and New Zealand, they would come three, um, and then at the bottom would be Latin America and Africa. I know that sounds terrible, but those are my preferences. Nothing. It's not anything personal about it. But well, it is personal, but there's nothing about it factually that that makes them more than just personal preferences. Just my personal preferences. Other people might have it completely reversed, where they might put Africa and Latin America at number one and Europe and Asia at the bottom. That's fine. That's all about personal preference. But with me, no, I'm not expatriating to those places. I'm not. I'm not moving somewhere that well, I'll just be blunt. I'm not gonna move somewhere where I find it to be a shithole. Like I'm not leaving here to move somewhere where I'm still gonna have difficulties living in some shithole country. And it's not just because they're poor. That's part of it. But I'm comfortable living in a poor country as long as they're not also dangerous places and places with uh, unstable governments and unstable economies. So I'll move somewhere poor. Like I'll live happily in the Philippines or Thailand or mm, maybe Cambodia, but I don't know because they still got like a bunch of undetonated landmines all over the country. But whatever, that's a different topic. Agatha Edwards says hello, good evening. What's up, Agatha? It was Agatha all along. um, but yeah, Philippines, Thailand, those would be good places for me. Taiwan is dope. Definitely Japan. Japan is a first world nation. So Singapore, Singapore maybe such a small place and very strict, but very safe. Japan is very strict, but it seems Japan seems different than Singapore. Like seems like it would be a fun place to live, where Singapore just doesn't seem like it would be fun to live there. Very, it would be nice to be there. So yeah, I don't know about living in Singapore, but Japan, yes. South Korea, yes. Taiwan, yes. Thailand, yes. Philippines, yes. Uh, Hong Kong before they started the national security law, I would have lived there, but not now after they've instituted the national security law. Now it's just an extension of mainland China. So no. um, and in Europe, several places I could think of: Paris. I mean, like France, Germany, the Netherlands, Denmark, Finland, probably Norway, so UK maybe. The word shithole country isn't cool. Shithole country isn't defined. Like, it's basically what I know you might not think is cool, but I'm a blunt person. This channel is about being blunt. That's why I call myself just a contrarian. Some places are shithole countries. I'm sorry. El Salvador, shithole country. Most people flee from there. It's been getting better in the last few years, but most people who leave there never want to go back. It is a shithole country. Venezuela, shithole country. People are leaving there. They're sending out their prisoners to come to America at this point. You got Venezuelan prison gangs taking over apartment complexes here in America in Aurora, Colorado. You have Venezuelan gangs like running amok now in America. It's a shithole country. Just like El Salvador has MS-13s and MS-15s here in America running amok. Shithole country. Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, shithole country. Pretty sure anyone leaving Burma does not want to come back to Burma. Shithole country. Um, Cameroon. Right now, I've known people from Cameroon, but right now it's bad there. It's a shithole country. Haiti. The capital has been in flames for how long now? Like people say, oh well, it's fun. It's okay on the beach side, on the beachfront outside of the capital. I'm sorry, I'm not going to Haiti if the capital is in ruins. Who's gonna be responsible for law enforcement and justice if the capital itself is destroyed and there's just gang warfare all throughout the capital of the country? Not doing it. Shit, whole country. Um, North Korea, shithole country. Shouldn't even have to be explained. No one from North Korea is pining to go back to North Korea. They might go to South Korea or China or, to UK, Canada, or America. No one's pining to return to North Korea. Shithole country. That gives you the gist. I'm not just calling, again, I'm not calling a country a shithole just because it's poor. So I'm calling. You gotta watch stuff from the beginning of my rants. Um, I'm talking when I refer to something as a shithole country. I'm not just talking about the poverty. I'm talking about it being a politically unstable place to a politically unstable country. Places where there might be a military coup, like in Myanmar, Burma, or frequent coup d'etats, like in these African nations. So even in Thailand, I mean, Thailand is pretty stable, but they had a little scare with a military coup several years ago. This is why Taylor Swift never performed there. She was scheduled to perform in Thailand, And most Western performers only go to two places really in Asia when they have like when they go on world tours. The world tour will be in Japan. It'll be in Japan and in Singapore. That's it. Which are happen to be the two safest countries in the world, Japan and Singapore. Maybe they'll stop in like South Korea as well, but for the most part, when they say world tour, when they hit Asia, pretty much Singapore and Japan. That's it, and I mean specifically Tokyo, Japan. Um, but getting back to my point, like I said, so if someone is blessed enough that they can even have the option of reverse migration, uh, they are of the blessed few. Because, like I said, I don't think most Americans have that option. Now, some of us have the option of expatriating, but that's not the same thing. We're not going back to our homeland. We're going to a whole new place, a whole new foreign land, and establishing roots there to get away from whatever we don't desire here. We're doing the Ernest Hemingway thing. So, um, but yeah, I would be curious if people have thought about that. Have they done it? Are they doing it? Have they already, do they want to do it? Do they think it's a horrible idea? Like I said, just to get a pulse on that, since, like I said, I saw it brought up on the Fung Brothers earlier today on one of their recent videos. And what? I think I'm gonna take an allergy pill because this headache is bothering me, and I know it's a headache brought on by allergies. Oh yeah. I hope this is the non-drowsy formula. He said I too suffer from allergies. Yeah, I have hay fever, and this headache is kicking my butt. I've had it all like since this morning, and since I haven't had coffee, it's still with me. Usually, the funny thing is, usually when I drink some coffee, that gets rid of my allergy headaches. Um, I usually don't take anything for it. Like I said, I usually just drink some coffee, and I'm good to go. Besides, since I run every day, my allergies aren't that bad because I've kind of like immunized myself to most of the pollen in the area. But I'm gonna take a antihistamine right now, and that should do the trick. Once my food's set, I'll go out for a run, but I'm literally too full to run. So that should kick in sooner or later. Yeah, I guess stuffy as well. Um, like I said, allergies don't bother me that much because usually I just drink coffee. That takes care of my allergy problems, and then I go out for a run. I believe anytime I'm sick, I just go out for a run. Honestly, I feel better just exercising. I don't like to just sit in the house and mope and feel sick. If I feel sick, I'll literally just go outside and run. If I'm nauseated, go for a run. Headache, go for a run. Stomach hurts, go for a run. Whatever, go for like that's my go-to. And I should have done it earlier. That was my mistake. But I got up late, and once I got up late, I didn't want to go out for a morning run because that's when all the school buses are out and the kids, and these roads are kind of tight compared to where I was living before. So I'm not going to be trying to hit the road and be swerving around a bunch of people commuting to work and school buses picking up kids. So right around now would probably be an optimal time. Now is five something. Yeah, you should try it. It may say I think that's a great idea to go for a run. I may try it. Yeah, it's funny. Like within the maybe it's because the endorphins are kicking in as you run, but during that run, I just feel better. And usually whenever I feel sick, I want to get fresh air anyway. Cause I always hate the how quartered, like how cloistered I feel within a house when I feel sick. Like when I feel sick, I want fresh air. I want fresh air and I want sunshine. I don't want artificial light and air pushed through a vent. I want fresh air. I think more old people should do that. Like they get sick and they just sit in their beds all day instead of like going out and getting fresh air. Like a little getting a little vitamin sun every day is should be a no brainer. Like 10 to 20 minutes of daylight every day. So it's like you could kill two birds with one stone. Go out for like a walk or a jog and get some sunlight at the same time. That's a good elixir. And also, if you do suffer from like hay fever, like I do, going out daily actually kind of reduces the severity of your symptoms to the local pollen because you're always immersed in it. So it takes away some of the potency of it. And I think I've only got it so bad today because, um, like I said, I'm this is not where I usually live, so the pollen isn't the same as in my other neighborhood. That's something that also didn't bother me much when I'm traveling. I haven't experienced much problems with allergies overseas, fortunately. Well, of course, when I was in the Philippines, I lived in a high-rise condo, so it would have been less likely that I was suffered from hay fever anyway. Plus, within Metro Manila, well, no, there's a lot of flora and fauna in Metro Manila, but I was going to say because it's more urbanized, I probably will run into less things that would agitate me and set off my allergies. But no, there's definitely plenty of flora and fauna in Metro Manila, though. But I think I don't know. It might just be less of a problem when I'm traveling. I get it more here, back here in the States. So definitely, when it comes to expatriating, Philippines is the top on my list, but it's not the only place. But it is the top on my list. Like I said, I wish I was of a group that I could reverse migrate to somewhere and say, the hell with this place. I'm moving back to the motherland and I'll make my bones there. Like I said, like a lot of South Koreans have been doing of recent. Plus, that works in South Korea's favor too to have these people, Korean Americans and Korean Canadians and Korean Brits returning to South Korea because since they're having a, a low birth rate crisis, um, if for folks don't know, they have the lowest. They recently have reached the lowest birth rates of any country in the world right now, and I think Japan is like second or third to them right now. Japan is going through it as well. Most of Asia is China, South Korea, Japan. Like they're suffering low birth rates, whereas countries in Southeast Asia aren't. Southeast Asia, like Philippines, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, Burma, Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, those places aren't suffering those low birth rates like the parts of Northeast Asia is China, Japan, and South Korea. But I think that's part of a problem going on in the West too. With part of in-stage capitalism just makes it undesirable, if not completely unaffordable, to to have kids. And some people aren't even having sex to even have the chance to have kids anyway. So, but that would be definitely a boon for their country for these people to return back, because most of these people returning back from Canada or the U.S. are going to be, probably more well-to-do anyway than natives, and they'll be more likely to bring their own jobs with them, as opposed to having to look for a job. People who usually expatriate or reverse migrate to a country usually already have create their own jobs. So, which, like I said, that would behoove these African countries to then set up systems to bring back Black Americans to take advantage of our higher income relative to them there. But they haven't, other than Ghana. So that's their fault. And see, I think someone suggested this topic or something along the lines of it many moons ago. But of course, that person isn't here to talk about it. So this is why I don't take topic suggestions from people anymore, because every time I do, they never show up for their topic that they suggested. But this wasn't anyone's topic suggestion. This is my own. But I've had questions along the lines of this many times. So it would it would have been nice to have those folks who always bring up those questions actually be in the chat at this time, because what's going to happen is I'm going to do a topic on another day, like tomorrow, about something completely different, and they're going to come and chime in about this, and I'll be like, well, you should have done that during that topic. Agatha says, all right, I'm getting ready to go on the train. Well, have a good day, Agatha. Hopefully my antihistamine will kick in. Oh, just leaving work. Okay. Um, will you lose your internet signal once you're on the train? Guys, I hope you like the ambient music in the background. It's called Ambient Cinematics. Fix Your Mindset. Batman Meditation 3 hours of deep ambient music for concentration. So it's one of those little AI generated music. So yes, we'll get signal underground. Okay, that's cool. Like this bedroom is so old school. Like not only do I have a fan, this little old fan on the wall, which has to have been at least from the 90s, if not earlier than that, probably like the 80s, to be honest. But like the dressers and drawers are from like 30 years ago, possibly older, 40, possibly 40 plus years ago. Um, and they still have a, my grandmother's, bless her heart, still has a VHS system in here. I don't know who was in here still looking at VHS tapes, but okay. What else is old school in here? Well, some people pointed out the ceiling fan, but I know a lot of people that still use ceiling fans, so I don't know. I don't think that's particularly old school because I think a lot of people still like using ceiling fans. Uh, but yeah, there's a lot of old school furniture in here. Um, but yeah, guys, uh, I'll probably end this soon if no one really has any thoughts on the topic, and then maybe move on to another one later on this evening. Maybe it's the time of the day as well. But I did see an influx of people come in at one time of like 15 people or so, and they might have saw, hey, this isn't really something I'm interested in, and then they bounced. That's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but I understand. I just want to try out different subjects instead of talking about the same things all the time. Because I will go back to those repeated topics I've had before. But sometimes I do try new topics just to see if I get a pulse on them. If I don't, I know it's not something I'm going to broach again. If I do, it'll be something I repeat. So, yep, yep. And for those who haven't, please give me a like and subscribe. Some people might watch this on the rebroadcasting of it once I upload this to my channel. So for those who are watching this on a rebroadcast, because I presume people who are watching it now already do follow, but if you haven't, like and subscribe. You can share the videos with others. Uh, you can also hit the notification bell so you know when I'm uploading a new video. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, memberships. If you want to show some support, you can take a hold of the memberships because I do have some members only content. I've done like some fitness videos. Recently, I did like a, a do it from home martial arts video on like Muay Thai, and I'm gonna do another stay like do it from home fitness video on martial arts for everyone, not just my members only. I just wanted to try it out first, my members only, and that wasn't bad. But I might do it in a different location. I did it purposely here in my bedroom, just to show people they don't need much space and equipment to do it. They just needed to literally just have a few meters of space, um, or for us Americans who are metric phobic, a few several feet of space around them to work out, put on some sweats, and that's it. So if you want to check out those members only videos, you can drop a subscription. Memberships start as low as I believe $2.99, so less than a Happy Meal. And to be honest, a Happy Meal wouldn't sound too bad right now. But yeah, guys. So again, has anyone thought of reverse doing reverse migration out of the U.S. to their homeland? Have you already done it? Or would you consider it? Um, do you think that's a do you think that's even a genuine option for people? Um, and for folks where it is an option, do you find that problematic that people will just up and leave after coming here, like gaining certain skills and education, and then going back to their own country where it would cause a brain drain here? So do people dislike that on that merit? Um, for for the majority of us who don't have a option for reverse migration, do you see us expatriating to another country as just as good an option as reverse migration? Or have you already done so, considering it, or you think it's a sham, or just something for privileged people? What do you guys think? And again, this is also be for the replay of this. So if people are just seeing this in the replay, then go ahead and leave those comments as well. I mean, in the comment section, not in the chat room, because once this is done and you're watching this on a replay, you won't be able to give live responses in the chat room, but you can leave replies in the comment section, and I'll see those. But it looks like I'm not getting too much feedback on that. Looks like people might be checking out other live streams right now, or watching videos, or having lives because it's Friday night. Well, Friday evening, people might be hitting up happy hour or doing whatever. So that's fine. I found the greatest success for some reason on Sunday mornings when I've had literally like hundreds of people viewing. I don't know if it was the time of day or it was the particular topic. Maybe it was a combination thereof because it was like late Sunday morning, like 10, 11 ish. And then I was talking about politics, referring to Kamala Harris and some other stuff going on at the time. And that got a lot of traction. So much so that I couldn't even get to all the comments. I mean, to every comment in the chat room. And it might have been partly because of the topic, because that happened before when I discussed a similar a similar political topic with talking about the election, and that was in the evening on a weekday. Actually, no. It wasn't even on a weekday. I mean, it wasn't even in the evening. It was like late night. It went well past midnight. Like I looked at the time, and it was like 3.5 hours into the chat, and it was like almost 4 in the morning. So I had to get off. I didn't realize that I would have got so much feedback on something at that time of night. So that was wild. Basically, yes, I remember. But yeah, I won't. I would not. I will not do that again. I will not be up late at night doing that. Usually, when I see people live streaming at that time of night, usually they're overseas. They're not here in America. Only people I used to see live streaming that late at night would be people like Kevin Samuels and stuff like that, and that wasn't healthy. That's why that brother died prematurely in his late 50s, because in his 50s he should have not been working like 70-hour work weeks. Like, he is up all night doing his YouTube channel, which he also put on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And then he still had his day job as an image consultant. So he would work during the day as an image consultant, and then as a YouTuber at night. In his 50s, he should not have been working that hard. He worked himself into an early grave talking to these little idiots. Like, I wouldn't have done it. And I'm definitely not going to. That was just something that happened that day. I will never make a habit of being up that late again like that. I've literally only done it three, I'm going to say about 3 times when I was up that late. I've been up past midnight before, but like when I was like up well past 12, like going into 1 or 2 o'clock, I've only done it like 2 or 3 times, maybe four. But I try to keep it at a civilized hour. However, it seems like people don't appear during the civilized hours. They only appear in uncivilized hours. Agnes was so tired of at work the day after that live. He didn't have to stay on that long, but I appreciate it. um, but yeah, I was tired too. I still had to get up. I still had to get up early that morning as well. Like I I stayed up. It was like 4 or so, and I went to bed around maybe 4:35, and still had to get back up around 10 a.m., which pissed me off because that meant I couldn't even get up to run early in the morning. As you said, I couldn't get off. I was so interested because it was flooding. Because the chat room was flooding with comments. When you got like a deluge of comments, is going to keep things like really interesting. I couldn't even get to all of them. I still haven't seen all of it. It was just impossible. So what I did was I just ended up skimming the whole chat room for the super chats to make sure I answered everyone who dropped a super chat or a super sticker, to make sure that I showed them their due deference for donating money to the live stream. So I answered those questions, and then I got off because it was insurmountable the amount of comments coming in. Because usually when it's like this, where it's like 5, 10, maybe 15 people in the chat room, I can just talk with you guys back and forth. But it was just impossible to do it when it's like hundreds of comments and hundreds of people in the stream. So, but I think that'll that'll probably happen next week because I'll talk about the uh, the debate that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are going to have Tuesday, when the 10th, September 10th, I believe, they're going to have a debate. So I know that's going to cause a lot of uh, that's going to cause a lot of content to be made on YouTube. The interview coming up, I don't really have any thoughts on it right now. Like I said, once it happens, then I'll probably talk about it. But I don't really have any thoughts, unless you're talking about the Kamala Harris interview that just came up last week when she did on CNN. And I thought that was crap. Like, she was asking her real questions, but she didn't really dig in. Like, she just let Kamala Harris give her pre-rehearsed answers, and then she didn't she didn't call her out on any of these things she would say. Whereas when anytime Trump appears for an interview on like CNN or somewhere, uh, they will any response they don't like that he gives, they will definitely dig into it and ask him to further explain himself and stuff like that. They didn't. Dana Bash did no such thing with Kamala Harris last week on her CNN interview. She didn't ask for further explanation or anything else. Like it was like completely they were playing softball with her. Justo says it's a good option if you have no other options. I disagree. I think having an option to leave the country is good because not everyone one, I mean not everyone's gonna make it here. That's just a fact. And two, um, if you can take your talents elsewhere, then why not? It's no different than really like people relocating to another city, like say people moving from their small town to a big city for better options, or moving away from the coast to like middle America for like a more wholesome lifestyle, or vice versa, moving from middle America to the coastal cities for like more economic opportunities. It's pretty much the same thing, except now you're doing it on an international level. Agnes says, I'm getting so nervous and anxious about the upcoming elections. I'm not. I'm I'm just pretty jaded about it. Um, for me, I'm voting everything not blue, just because I'm just dissatisfied. Like, uh, Maryland is a blue state, and I'm gonna vote against everyone on my on the Maryland ticket who is Democrat. I'm voting against all of them. And if there is no one, for the smaller seats, in the state and county government, if there is no rival to the person, then I'll write my own self in as instead of picking that person. I'll just write in my own name. I'm voting everything, anything not blue. Agnes says I moved from North Carolina to New York. Yeah, see, that's an option. Like I said, the whole reverse migration thing, though, it fits. It's sort of a cultural niche too, though, because like I said, this is for people who came here presumably as migrants, or their parents came here as migrants, so they always have the option of going back home. That's a great option to have. Like I said, it'd be great if black people had that option, but we don't because we've been the whole transatlantic process culturally alienated us as soon as we got here. So there was no home. There was no going back to the homeland or whatever. Like first of all, those places where those people were picked, were trafficked from, were probably destroyed, and then any cultural connections were completely severed in, during the transatlantic process. So that's not going to happen. Then it's been literally centuries of removal from those places. So it's not an option here. Justos' video of Kamala Harris code switching. I don't care about her code switching. Like, it, for me, it's not code switching. It's what she was doing was reverse code switching because she look, she didn't grow up in a black community, so I don't think she ever grew up speaking Black vernacular English. So she, like she was trying to put on a sort of a southern esque type of uh, dialect. It just sounded inauthentic. But I saw her when I saw the video of her at the rally. I just don't care. All I think all politicians are kind of inauthentic. Like that's what I don't get about when people. This is why I'm a political independent because everything one side does, the other side does as well. So I just really don't care. This is why I'm kind of apathetic about politics. Hillary Clinton did that shit back in 2016. She started trying to use some sort of black vernacular English, which for her that's not just code. It's not code switching. She's just being completely fugazi because she's not code switching. She's from Illinois, and she's not from like Chicago, Illinois. She's from like the boondocks. um, but her affecting some sort of black vernacular while walking around saying that she keeps hot sauce in her purse. Like, bitch, please. Um, yeah, I mean, she changed her accent the same day. Um, Look, Hillary was doing a black scent one day. That's what they call it, black scent. But you had a Chinese actress made her whole career doing black scent. Aquafina. She's recently apologized for it a few years ago, and she stopped using it. But she used to use it to start her career. Like she started off as a rapper on YouTube with a song called My Vag. Like she literally had a song rapping about her vagina's queefing, calling it My Vag. And I think she only was using that black scent because since she was rapping, she needed to try to, I guess, sound black as a rapper. And then she used that same black scent in that dumbass movie, um, rich, crazy rich Asians or whatever, which didn't make sense because she played a Chinese Singaporean character who would have never had contact with people to have learned a black scent. So that didn't make sense. There aren't black people in Singapore. You might meet one or two, but by and large, there's no huge amount of black expats living in Singapore. So there's no place her character would have picked up a black scent from. So I've never liked Aquafina. I think she's corny. Yeah, she used to. Yeah, you definitely missed the 2016 elections if you don't remember that, because people still make fun of that to this day, where she says she keeps hot sauce in her purse. People still make fun of that. Juice says Hillary Clinton needs to carry seasoning in her purse. No, she needs to just walk the fuck off and stop bothering us. That's what Hillary needs to do. So this is why people go for Trump. He never changed his character. Yeah, love him or hate him, like he pretty much is what he is. So, and like I said in previous live streams, the funny thing is black people used to love Donald Trump for his antics and for his just um his lifestyle. um, he used to be talked about in rap songs. He appeared on black TV shows like Fresh Prince. Um, he was in music videos. Like it wasn't until he started talking about their 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 Lord and Savior Barack Obama in 2016 and saying that he would run for office himself is when all these black people who are Democrats started hating him. Before he had any political leanings, black people didn't have a problem with him. So, but that's why nowadays there's no monolithic voting block amongst black people now, and that's good. We don't have to all be counted as Democrats. And what's happening now is that Democratic pundits no longer find success in shaming black people who refuse to vote Democrat. That used to be the biggest shaming tactic, is basically calling out black people who didn't vote Democrat as calling them sellouts and stuff like that. Um, Saying that, all the typical insults and shaming tactics uh, against like black conservatives or people who weren't necessarily conservative but might have been just apolitical. So Justo says, I think most minorities thought that if Donald Trump gets in office, he won't benefit the people. That's why Hispanics and black people vote Democrat. No, they've been brainwashed over 50 years since the Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Bill into law, that the Democrats are the party of minorities, and the Democratic Party strategists have made that a thing. You got to understand politics and the way it's played. They they take the black and brown vote. Well, they're realizing this coming election they can't do so anymore. But they take the black and brown vote um, as a given for like for almost for over 40 plus years, and it's just not so anymore. A lot of younger black people don't identify with the party anymore, especially black men. You said Larry Elder would have been a good vote for the Republicans. Probably not. It's hard on a national level. It's going to be very hard for a black Republican to get elected. Like the most prominent black Republicans you've seen in office have usually been those who were part of a ticket where they weren't the main candidate. Like Michael Steele in Maryland was, the was it you call it vice governor, whatever you call it, or some other prominent black Republicans. Like they can win on like local levels, sometimes state levels, but usually on the national level, it's not gonna it's just not gonna happen. They're not gonna have the numbers because by and large most black Americans still vote Democrat. Even if they're independent, they still tend to vote Democrat. Because I myself was an independent for the last 12 years and I still mostly voted Democrat. But again, I don't want to turn this into a political discussion, but this is why, again, some people want to leave the country. They're getting tired of the politics here in this country. And that's regardless of whether you're on the left or the right. A lot of people are tired of American politics. People are tired of capitalism that's gone to the extremes. Not to say that they want to be in a socialist country or anything like that, but end stage capitalism is toxic. And we're seeing that. Like we're seeing the middle class shrink, where you're going you're going to some of these other countries that are starting to slowly peak, and their middle classes are blossoming. South Korea has a blossoming middle class, a thriving middle class economy. And as poor as the Philippines is, they have a growing middle class. They're basically the Philippines right now is basically where South Korea was, like back in like the 80s. This is where the Philippines right now is where South Korea was in the 80s. So they do have the potential to turn things around and become prosperous. So um, a lot of people saying, "Hey, I'm tired of, I'm tired of the politics. I'm tired of a place that doesn't benefit men." Because a lot of these people traveling abroad are men, by the way, either for reverse migration or for expatriation. A lot of them are men or they're older couples. So a lot of people are tired of the politics. They're tired of the economic struggles here. Um, they know their money will stretch farther in other places. Um, they might have if they're migrating back to their homeland, they might have a touch of homesickness or nostalgia for where they grew up. So inflation went up. Yeah, that's true. So thoughts on illegal immigration. I mean, that's a topic for another day, but I've already touched on that earlier when I was talking about why I consider a lot of these Latino countries are shitholes because they send out their worst people here. Now we got to deal with, like, Venezuela has been a socialist shithole for like the last few decades, and they're releasing the worst of their folks out here. You got Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment complexes in places like Aurora, Colorado, and roaming around parts of the country causing mayhem. They're gonna step to the wrong place though. They're gonna come into the wrong place and get fucked up. They're gonna step into Texas where them boys aren't playing. They can do that in those little blue states where people can't have guns, but they're gonna mess around and they're gonna fuck around and find out in Texas or Florida where them boys are allowed to carry them guns and believe in that castle doctrine. So Justo says reverse migration is a tough choice, especially if you don't know the language and you don't know many people in the foreign country. Well, like I said, you for the most part, reverse migration is for people who are actually from those countries, or they may be the children of people from those countries. So they probably still have family connections there. But yes, if you moved from those countries as a child, or you never lived there because you're like a second generation American, then they're going to treat you as a foreigner in that country. Like in South Korea, I think they will refer to them as a gyopo. Um, but it's the the cost of being treated as a foreigner might still not be as bad as the benefits of going there. Because yeah, say you have to live as a foreigner there, then you're kind of just in between both worlds because you're now in your homeland, but also you can you can live a lifestyle where you're treated as a foreigner and you hang out with other foreigners in that country, even but you're still you can still be treated as a citizen there because there are actually like financial benefits for people moving back to South Korea. So I'm only speaking about South Korea, but I'm sure other countries will do this as well. But yeah, they actually have like benefits set up like you like old like say old people moving back to South Korea after living here in America for like a long time can go back there and enjoy both their pension or retirement here in America as well as receiving one from the Korean government there because they will uh, retroactively treat them as citizens again and receive a Korean pension of some sort. So that's pretty sweet. But it will only be like the children or the grandchildren who don't speak the language, because usually first and second generation still speak the native tongue. It's usually the third and fourth generations that no longer speak the mother tongue. But usually most second generations still speak some level of the language. Because because as a second generation immigrant here in America, you're still gonna grow with those with your parents who still speak the language. So you're gonna get immersed in it in some point in time. What would be more difficult is the expatriation, um, where you are a foreigner in a new country. But this is why it kind of makes sense to expatriate to a country that's English speaking and Americanized. Like I said, South Korea is very Americanized, but a lot of people don't speak English there. The Philippines is great because it's somewhat Americanized, but most people speak English there because it's actually considered one of their native. It's actually considered one of their national languages. Canada, nah, I'm like, I don't really consider that Canada because Canada's like one of those places you will be moving away from U.S., Canada, and the U.K. So Canadians will be sort of the same thing, like moving from Canada to somewhere overseas. So not talk like we're talking about moving away from North America, not to North America. Like moving from the U.S. to Canada is not really a big difference. But like say moving to the U.S. to Mexico would be because they're two different cultures and so forth. Like there's actually within the past decade or so, there's been more Mexicans moving back to uh, Mexico than Mexicans moving to the United States. A lot of people we see crossing the border aren't from Mexico. They're from other Latin American countries. They're from the Caribbean and they're from Asia. But um, but and then another then the other twist it has like for Mexicans who lived along the southwest border, like they may have been in America for the longest time since like before the founding of the country. So they may have always lived on this side of the fence, but back then this side of the fence was part of Mexico or part of New Spain. So he says it's easier to get in through Mexico or something. Yeah, you. That's the whole issue with illegal immigration is how porous the Mexican border has been. That's the whole issue with illegal immigration is everyone's pouring through the Mexican borders. There's no place like there's gaps all along that border. And on top of that, even where they do see them coming in, the border patrol has been ordered not to detain them. Like there was literally a 2020 video an episode of on 2020 last year showing these Chinese people just openly walking across the border on this man's ranch. He couldn't do anything about it. He once came outside with a gun and they locked him up on his own property, told him he can't stop them from coming across the border. They burned down his trees as firewood. Couldn't do anything. And there's a lot of these Chinese people that were coming right across the border. As soon as they did, they had someone ordered pick them up in an Uber. But you brought up illegal immigration, so I thought you knew about the whole crisis on the border. That's part of the whole problem with illegal immigration right now. But uh, yeah, that might be another problem people might be leaving the country for, dealing with illegal immigration, and a lot of the migrants coming here are dangerous. Like all these Venezuelan gangs coming here, like openly just tossing people out of their apartments at gunpoint, and no one's doing anything about it. But if you believe the Harris team, everything's hunky dory when it comes to migration, even though they're silently trying to initiate Trump's policies on the border. So, no, there's no fence. You talk. Do you know how long the southwest border is, stretching from California across to Texas? And no, that's a lot of that's open, just open, open territory, and many people will have ranches right there on the border. I think what attracts them to those ranches is that how um, how affordable the land is. But look at what you have to deal with on these on these on these ranches that are on the Mexico U.S. border. People coming through there all the time. There's no natural border that separates all of the U.S. from Mexico, and even the parts that are gated still, you can just bypass that by going into those little open fields that that join the Mexico and the U.S. Then you have them getting more benefits here than actual Americans. So you're right, migrants getting more rights than Americans is crazy. Like in California, they passed law where they can get a zero down payment to buy a house. And I think like an $150,000 loan or something like that with zero down payment. Most people can't even afford housing in California, and these people are getting zero down pay, 0% down payment. That's crazy. And these people walking around with EBT cards with like $10,000 worth of food benefits on it, and maybe like $5,000 cash benefits on their EBT. That's not even a lie, because someone caught the receipt. Someone actually took a picture of the person's receipt, and that another person who was working at Walmart was talking about these immigrants coming to Walmart and using their EBT benefits there. So that might be another reason for expatriating. And they streamlined the citizenship process. They were bringing people in and just speedballing them through the citizenship process to become citizens. Obviously, with the intentions that these will become registered voters later down the line, which would benefit the people who let them in, namely the Democrats. So, and despite people thinking it was a lie, they have been flying some of them in as well. So I don't know if it's an elitist agenda, but there's an agenda to bring in these minority groups. Uh, but my My allergy medication is not kicked in yet, so guys, I'm about to go since I really don't have. There's really not too much thoughts on people, doing reverse migration and stuff like that. So, um, unless there's any other comments or questions, I'll give it a few more minutes. Then I'm about to go. But yeah, there's a lot of issues here that might cause people to want to go to another country. Whether we're talking about politics, whether we're talking about um, less economic, uh, um, less economic opportunities, um, whether people are fearing for their safety right now with the rise of crime and illegal migrants coming into parts of the country and committing crimes without there being any sort of like penalties for them, uh, or the fact that your money can stretch farther overseas. All of these might be reasons people might want to go, and if you're returning to your homeland, you might receive substantial benefits for returning home, like people in South Korea, um, like people um, from Taiwan, like people going to Israel. There could be benefits to that reverse migration. Is expat a good option? It can be if you have the means to support yourself in another country and you know the culture, or have people, or people there that can help you get adjusted. Being an expat definitely is a good option. But I said that's only for people who can make a living overseas. If you can't make a living overseas, um, probably not. It's probably not a viable option for most people. Most people are tethered to a 9 to 5 job here, and might, not to mention a mortgage, so they're stuck. So it's a good option for those who can do it. Like I said, they can work they can work remotely, or they can relocate their jobs. They know something of the country to which they want to live, um, or they have people there that they know who can get them situated once they get there. It would definitely be a good option, and most likely they're gonna move to a cheaper country where the money goes multiple times farther than it does here. So definitely a good option to have. And maybe one of the best ways to test that out is just to travel. That way you might get a feel for, okay, I could live at a place, in a place like this, or vice versa. Oh, I would not want to live here. So, and I've had both of those thoughts visiting several countries. Some places I was like, oh, I can see myself living here. Other places like, yeah, no, I wouldn't want to live here. So, but nice place to visit. Um, but yeah, I think other than that, I think I'm gonna go, guys. I might do a later stream tonight. We'll see. But until then, thank you. Please like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Check this out on the replay. Um, if you want, you can subscribe to the channel, see my members only content. And if you want to support my channel, you can do so in multiple ways. Whether you can send me a super thanks, or send me a cash app directly, or buy me a coffee. Just so says visiting, living somewhere, are two different things. You know, they are definitely so. But I'm saying, you have to first travel to a place to know whether it's somewhere you will want to stay or not. That's your first, You gotta dip your toes in the water first. Like you wouldn't know if it's a place you want to be in if you never even visited there. But whereas can't get a, whereas sometimes you can get a false first impression of a place. It's still better than knowing nothing of the country itself. Plus, like I said, I can just visit some places and know, hey, I wouldn't want to live here. Whereas I might go somewhere and say, hey, I want to live here, but then when I actually live there, it may be a completely different story, and I'm like, oh, this place isn't that great. That happens. That definitely happens. But more than likely, if you decided you don't want to live in a place after you visit it, I don't see you actually living there and that opinion changing. The only time the opinion will change is that you thought it would be a good place and it's not a good place. But I've never seen it be the fact where you thought it wasn't a good place and then you end up thinking it is after you decide to live there anyway. That I've not seen that go that way. All right, guys, this pressure headache is getting to me, so I'm gonna go. Guys, you have a good one, and feel free to leave comments for people who were seeing us on the replay. But appreciate it, Juice Dope. Have a good one, okay?